It is freezing. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another video. Today we are out in the bitter coldness. I don't know how cold it looks. There's some snow on top of those mountains and there's ice on the ground. Absolutely freezing. But this video is going to be something slightly different. Obviously, as you know, we do both photography and filmmaking, obviously to make our videos and make them cinematic and stuff. But normally the videos are based around photography and we don't really talk much about the filmmaking side of it. Today, because we recently got, if you've seen a recent video, you would have seen we got the X-T3, which Christina is currently filming on right now, along with this lens, which we currently have on the X-T30 at the minute. Look how cute and small it is. But yeah, anyway, so we wanted to see with the X-T3, because it does have the option to do 10-bit internal recording, we wanted to see what the difference was between 10-bit and the 8-bit that we normally use. I'm not going to get too much more technical than that, but what we normally shoot in is the 8-bit 200 megabit files, and today I'm going to use the 10-bit option with the 400 megabit files. I've already took some shots and we're going to go home now and I'll color grade them and stuff because I'm not doing the rest of this video outside. It's
can't
freezing.
find my hand.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see what they're like, see what the difference is, and see if it's worth shooting in 10-bit. Not sure how big those files are going to be, but they're probably going to be huge. Yeah, it's too cold.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, winter was definitely delayed, but it is well and truly here now. Geez, it was cold when we were recording those clips, and it's currently extremely icy outside, so yeah, winter is here. Hopefully it'll bring some snow too, because I want to take some snow photos. So yeah, first of all, again, just like the last video, this is not going to be super technical. It's a little practical test, more for my curiosity to be fair, but hopefully it's helpful in some way or other to some of you. Yeah, just get that out of the way first. So just very quickly, I did mention about doing this video in our Discord server, just to see what people thought, see if they were interested or not. And yeah, a few people didn't totally understand the technical terms like the 8-bit, 10-bit. So I'm just going to very quickly explain it for all the professional color graders and color correction people out there. I know this is probably not technically right. It's definitely not technically right, but it's a way that I think I can explain it that'll help people understand very quickly the differences. So more than likely when most of you guys go out to record a video clip of any sort, let's say for example you're recording some 4K footage on your camera, more than likely that's going to be in 8-bit, and for the purposes of trying to explain this, let's say that that's like shooting a photo in JPEG. Now another option that you can have, as I mentioned at the start of this video, is shooting in 10-bit, which is sort of, let's say for this example, like shooting in RAW on your camera. And yes, I know you can't shoot video in RAW, but let's not go into that. Let's say that the 8-bit is like shooting in JPEG and the 10-bit is almost like shooting in RAW. And you also have the choice of what bitrate you want to use for 8-bit or 10-bit. So let's say you're shooting in the 8-bit codec, you will have the choice of 100 megabit, 200 or 400. And sticking with the JPEG and RAW thing, 8-bit 100 is like shooting a smaller JPEG file, 8-bit 200 is like a slightly bigger JPEG, and 8-bit 400 would be, in our example, the biggest JPEG. So with each of those you're doubling the bit rate, so 100, 200, 400, and you're going to end up with a bigger file depending on which one you choose, which should ideally allow you to preserve more highlights, preserve more details in the highlights, the shadows, and it should make color grading a little bit easier. So yeah, anyway, I'm not going to talk any more about that. Hopefully that just allows it to make a little bit more sense if you're not sure what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the clips up on screen. I think you might be surprised by the results. I know I was. Okay, so this is the first clip that I recorded, and first of all, I just want to apologize. I probably should have used a tripod for this. Wasn't really thinking at the time. Warp stabilizer definitely helps, but it's a little bit wobbly. Ideally, a tripod would have been the better option, but yeah, I just wasn't thinking. But anyway, here is the first two clips, one in 8-bit and one in 10-bit. Literally all I've done to both of these shots is just slightly adjust the midtones, the highlights and the shadows, just to get it to a pretty neutral place where I think it looks good. Nothing drastic has really been done. I exposed pretty much for the highlights, although I did leave the area over the mountain maybe a little bit overexposed because I just wanted to see how both of them would deal with it. And I mean, as you can see from the clips, they both deal with it perfectly. It doesn't look like there's any overexposure in the clip, and there's lots of shadow detail and stuff. And to be honest, I couldn't tell the difference. I had to zoom in a lot before I was able to see any difference in either of these clips. And I mean, I zoomed in a lot. You can see how zoomed in I am to the rock in the foreground here. I just wanted to see if I could notice the 8-bit file struggling a little bit with the shadows or falling apart or getting blocky looking. And to be honest, it didn't really. Still not really much different. The only way you can really tell is right underneath the front of the rock, where it gets quite a bit darker. You can see that there is some more noise and maybe a slight bit of blockiness in the real darkest parts of the shadows, and that is obviously in the 8-bit file, but I mean, hardly noticeable. I have to zoom in very far. For this clip anyway, it's quite a well exposed clip, and that area wasn't really that dark to begin with. Okay, moving on to the second set of clips. This one has a little bit more contrast. The mountain was quite bright, the sun was hitting it directly, and we have more dark shadows, deep dark shadows in those bushes in the midground there. And I mean, from a distance again though, both the 8-bit and the 10-bit look literally identical. Both deal with the highlights really well, and just a really nice clip. Again, I just made some adjustments, slight adjustments in the color wheels section, just to the highlights, midtones and shadows, but very slightly. And it's not until you zoom in extremely far again, right into this bush right in the center of the frame, that you can see the difference. So we have the 8-bit file on the right and the 10-bit on the left. The 8-bit is 200 megabyte, like I said, and the 10-bit is 400. And it's right here we can start to see more noise and blockiness in the deepest shadows of it. And mind you, I have increased the midtones quite a bit in this shot, more than the first clip that you just seen there, to try and make this happen. You can't really notice it if I don't increase the midtones or shadows a lot. You can see the saturation on the 8-bit clip is definitely not as nice. It's a little bit more faded, and you can sort of see some blockiness and more noise in the dark parts of the shadows. But again, like I said, this is zoomed in a lot. Okay, so onto the final set of clips, and these were the sort of conditions that I was hoping for. This is the perfect sort of scenario to see if there's any difference in the dynamic range and stuff. I exposed for the sky in this one, and that obviously led to the foreground being super dark, which is perfect for my little practical test. So obviously here you can see both clips, and I've made some drastic adjustments this time in the color wheel section. I've increased the midtones the whole way up to bring back all of the detail in the foreground. And I mean, from a distance, yes, it looks a little bit noisy, but to be fair, for the amount I've increased that, not too bad on either the 8-bit or the 10-bit. But once we zoom in a bit, and by a bit I mean a lot, like a lot, the scale in Premiere Pro is set to 652, which is extreme. As you can see, I'm zooming right into the left corner, which was sort of the darkest part, and I think it was just a good area to see or to compare. And this is where you really start to notice, specifically with this clip. So with the 10-bit here, you can see obviously quite noisy, quite a bit of noise there, but it does bring back quite a bit of the detail, and does a pretty decent job. There's still some saturation there, and you take into consideration that this part of the image was literally pure black. You can't see anything but the little metal part on the path. I would say that's not bad from the 10-bit file. But once we go to the 8-bit file, you can see it has really took a hit with this one. So we have a lot of blockiness going on. There isn't really any detail in the darkest parts of the shadows. It's just solid black. And then we sort of lose all the detail in the branches and stuff. And we lose a lot of saturation as well. There's almost like a bit of a, I don't know if it's like a magenta tone or it's just lost all the saturation, but yeah, this is definitely the set of clips where I've noticed it the most, and this is also the set of clips where I pushed it way more than you probably are ever going to want to push your clips. Yeah, so that's what you have to do to make the 8-bit fall apart. But again, from a distance, you can't really see that. I'm zoomed in a lot, and like I said, a lot, right into the bottom corner. Pretty happy with how the 10-bit done in that circumstance, to be fair. But yeah, pretty happy with how the 10-bit done in that last clip. But like I said, I'm pushing those clips to the absolute max. I'm literally trying to make that happen just to see how much I have to increase things to be able to notice the difference between the 8-bit and 10-bit. And it's definitely a lot more than I thought. I thought I would be able to notice, like from the wide view, the difference. I thought there would just be a difference in the dynamic range and stuff, and that would be noticeable, but definitely not the case. The sky looks the same in all of the clips. Once I lowered the highlights a little bit, I was able to bring all the detail back. There was no like solid line where all the detail had been lost when I'm color grading. So yeah, I'm quite surprised at how little difference there is, to be honest. To be fair, it does just show how good the 200 megabit 8-bit files are. I've said in previous videos how I love the look I can get out of those. I've made multiple little cinematic videos with them and really never had any problems with blowing out the highlights or stuff. I love like the highlight roll off and stuff, even when you're shooting directly into the sun. It just looks so nice, and I think I'll probably just continue to use the 200 megabit 8-bit files because it seems to just be a great middle ground between getting a really great result and not a massive file. Those 10-bit files were literally double the size, so yeah. I think I'll stick to saving some space and getting some pretty amazing results anyway. A little bit of a different one this time, but I do love filmmaking. It's a huge part of what we do, and I was intrigued, so I thought I would share it with you guys. And like I said, I was interested to just see the results too. Maybe the results would be more noticeable if I used F-Log with the 10-bit files. Maybe that would get me a wider dynamic range. I don't know, but I am kind of intrigued to find that out too, so maybe I'll do a follow-up using F-Log. But anyway, hopefully this one was helpful to you in some way or other. If it was, maybe give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and yeah, you'll probably see me in the next few weeks out taking photos freezing cold. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this one, so as we always say, take it easy, don't be a stranger. I will be absolutely freezing. Kind of looking forward to taking some photos if it snows, but it's nasty.